Carnifex must die. Auspex deep scan ready.
What you just saw was Ruthless difficulty fighting a Carnifex, and as of this video, this is the release of the 4.1 update, which kind of brought back some, or not brought back, but reverted some changes, some of the more unpopular changes, mainly notable to the difficulty of the enemies in Substantial, Ruthless, and Lethal. And I just wanted to show that clip because the update that just dropped actually brought about a nice little buff to the bolter rifles for PvE only. So it's specifically for operations that they got their buffs, and this is for the entirety of the bolter family. The bolter rifle I'm using, I'll just go ahead and quickly put up a little clip of what I'm using, which is a relic version of the bolt rifle, the standard bolt rifle. And you quickly saw how that Carnifex was dismantled the moment I initiated my Auspex scan. The version of Auspex that I have for my perk is the one that gives you a 75% increase to damage. There is another perk for Auspex scan that gives you 100% damage to enemies, but that effect only lasts so long as those enemies are within the scanned area. I've tried to use it before against Carnifexes, but since the Carnifex has a lot of leaping attacks and such, it's kind of hard to kind of keep it in place. Even more so when you try and have a bulwark or an assault or someone just trying to melee and keep it aggroed within that little marked area. It's just not a great perk, but I just wanted to show you that, and that was on Ruthless difficulty. And I figured I would show just some background footage of something else that isn't Tyranids. This is a operation called Vox Liberatus, which is the third operation out of the original 6. It transitions from Tyranids in the beginning to Chaos, and I figured why not just do this instead, just because with the bolter with the bolter buffs, fighting Chaos actually isn't as bad now. So fighting the Terminators in particular, and you'll see a couple of these Scarab Occult Terminators appear, which are Extremis level enemies, easier to take them out. But in general, fighting the Heretic Astartes is much easier than before. There is a slight, I did notice a slight increase to the damage that the rifles are putting out, specifically my bolt rifle. Sorry. And with most headshots, all the perks I have invested into my bolt rifle are all pertaining to bonus damage to headshots. So I think I need to go back and look at my perk tree, but I do believe I have 20% right now total headshot damage each time you put in a perk into whatever points you want, and each time there's a 10% damage and increase to headshots. So that's all I usually do, just because this bolt rifle that I'm using, which is just your standard bolt rifle, you can fire it in semi-automatic. It's a much slower rate of fire, so it's easier to handle while firing in semi-auto, even though it's a full auto. But it's very easy to land precision shots. It's not too bad at range, like sniper level ranges. So it's a good all-arounder. I really like it, more so than the heavy bolt rifle. The standard auto rifle, which is just the basic version of the bolter, it's great and all, but its rate of fire is too fast. But with the buff to these bolt rifles, I'm gonna start messing around with every other bolt rifle. I'm already close to getting the relic version for the heavy bolt rifle, so I'll start playing around with that, see what optimizes the build for Tactical Marine, which is the class you're seeing on screen. Overall, it is a good update. There is a whole thing about what they're calling gatekeepers, and the helmet that I showed in a previous video, the helmet that can only be obtained, which is called the Survivor's Helmet, I believe, can only be obtained from completing lethal difficulty on every single operation. And this update actually did make Ruthless and Lethal easier, but I never really had much issues completing Ruthless difficulty with the 4.0 update. It kind of felt the same, just because, you know, I'm already using maxed out classes, so I don't really feel the struggle with power scaling. I still haven't touched lethal difficulty. I don't think I want to yet until I can find some people that I can play a group up with on a regular basis. I don't really want to do lethal difficulty with random players. A lot of times when I can't use assault, and assault is my best class, whenever I jump into a ruthless difficulty mission and I have to pick a different class that isn't assault, the random players I've been playing with lately in assault, they're pretty terrible with the assault class. And I've been playing with a lot of max rank level 25 full relic loadout assault marines, and they're pretty terrible. They don't know how to utilize the class to its fullest potential, and a lot of times I've actually failed these ruthless missions because they're the first ones to go down. And in my experience as an assault marine main, you should be the last class being incapacitated. And to be frank, you should really be the last class going down out of the three, but they're always the first ones going down whenever I'm not the assault marine. And assault marine is actually so easy to play now with the hammer and the perks I've got for it, and then finally figuring out how to use the extra attacks and all that. But that's a whole nother issue. I just wanted to show this video that the bolters are in a good spot, a little bit better than they were before. They did not touch the bolt pistols. I think the bolt pistols are fine as they are for both PvE and PvP, but this is more for PvE issues. The other thing that they did change with the update was they removed what they called the tight formation update, which came with 4.0. And what tight formation was on lethal difficulty in particular, you could not regain armor from executions unless you were unless you were close to your teammates. So that was kind of a huge issue as far as I can tell, but that was from reading other people's experiences. Again, I never touched lethal difficulty. I still haven't, not until I can find some good players to group up with on occasion when I want to do lethal difficulty. Again, I don't see the need to do lethal difficulty besides the helmet, but I already stated before in the previous video, I don't really care for the helmet. There's not enough incentive for me to do a higher difficulty if the rewards aren't going to be greater. I don't really have need for requisition points at the moment now. I'm kind of like around 600 requisition points now, and there's not much else for me to use them on, except for buying new weapons within the same tiers just to get the perks going for them after I've maxed them out. That's really all I'm using them for. I don't really care about unlocking the rest of my, but the rest of the chapters. They did say that they're going to introduce new chapters. I don't know what those new chapters are. I can't really think of any off the top of my head that could be included, because right now some of the main chapters are already in, but who knows. My favorite chapter is already in here, which is Black Templars. Obviously my favorite faction of Space Marine is the Grey Knights. They're obviously never going to make it into the game, so I just make do with what I want, or with what I have. I mean, here you can kind of see I'm not even using a Black Templar. I'm just using the best I could to make a Sturmguard veteran Ultramarine. But anyway, they also took away the Extremis level enemies as far as their spawn rates, not taking them away entirely, but the spawn rates were reduced. Here is another Occult Terminator, and you can see it got quickly taken out with ease, so fighting Chaos isn't too bad with 4.1 update, and I figured I would show something else besides the same 2 or 3 Tyranid operations over and over and over and over, just with different... I'm already at a point where it feels like I'm going to start milking Space Marine 2 here soon, and I don't actually want to do that. I don't want to be one of those content creators that milks a video game for anything and anything that they can think of, or for anything and everything that they can think of. Next week I will start posting some Helldivers 2 stuff, because Helldivers 2 is going to be releasing a new update on the 31st. I believe they said it was the 31st, along with that new battle pass, and start checking that out. And I figured I could use YouTube as an excuse to actually start playing Helldivers 2 again. I haven't really been playing that game at all lately, and I really don't know why. It doesn't feel stale or anything, but I think just because Space Marine had dropped. I don't think I'll be doing a lot of Space Marine 2 multiplayer until the next update rolls in, which when they'll add in the new map. I've already shown enough multiplayer footage as it is, and that's saying something considering I have very few videos of the multiplayer, but I've already showcased all 3 maps several times over, and I'm kind of bored of the multiplayer. I don't really want to jump into it as often as I should, because Sparking Zero had dropped, and the multiplayer for Sparking Zero 2 is not too bad, but then I just posted that video about some of the nerfs that need to be made for Sparking Zero, and the multiplayer is already kind of killing it for me with how cheesy it's getting, and how players are just choosing to win over to just having fun with the game. And granted, Space Marine 2's multiplayer, I mean, yeah, it is fun, but with how bare bones it is, it'd be nice to play something else besides the same 3 modes. I'm usually just playing Annihilation now, which is just team deathmatch. Now, besides Helldivers, I also want to do. I'm thinking about Black Ops 6 and doing at least a single player. I have not played a Black Ops game since Black Ops 1, so I'm not familiar with the story and the multiple choice that you can do for the single player. That's something I really want to invest some time into. I love single player games where you have multiple choice, obviously, like Mass Effect or The Witcher 3 or even Deus Ex Human Revolution, even though the agency are allowed in Deus Ex Human Revolution isn't the greatest, but still I like those type of games, so I might post some Black Ops 6, maybe some multiplayer, but Call of Duty isn't really much of my type of flavor anymore, and I'm not really liking that that gameplay mechanic, the movement, whatever they're calling that movement. But we'll see. For now, I just wanted to just give this quick little update on the 4.1 update that dropped. I think it was today, of the Bolter update. That is the best part of this update. Again, lethal difficulty, I'm not going to really say anything else about lethal until I can find a real excuse to do lethal difficulty. I don't care for the helmet, as I said before. There's not enough cosmetics there for me to warrant doing those higher difficulties, especially with random players. As I mentioned earlier, my favorite class is Assault, and yeah, I do have the Tactical Marine as well, that's maxed out. I do have the Heavy, that's nearly maxed out. But whenever I come across random Assault players, they're pretty terrible, and they're always holding up the rest of the team. And when it comes to anything above substantial difficulty, you really need all 3 players on top of their game. Yeah, and obviously there's videos out there where people are soloing the higher difficulties. I am never going to be one of those players. I don't care for that kind of challenge. I'm just trying to play the game, get through it, get my rewards, call it a day, and move on. So moving forward with Space Marine, it's going to be more update related. I've been putting a pause on the lore stuff just because of what's going on recently with all the AI generated channels that are popping up, especially with Warhammer in particular. For the 40k universe is a very established universe. It's been around for a long time, so trying to make sure that I get my research right and I don't screw something up or mess something up, and I probably have maybe in the last couple of lore videos I did. For now, I got to put that stuff on hold just so I can get some stuff sorted out outside of YouTube. I just don't have the time that I would like to invest into doing more lore videos. So I have to kind of steer away from that in the meantime, and probably just focus more on expanding the games I can post up on this channel and kind of experiment with what's popular and what's not. Obviously, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is not very popular on this channel as opposed to Space Marine. I don't know if it has to do with the fact that Dragon Ball is much more mainstream than Warhammer, although Warhammer is starting to get there in mainstream media. So I'm still going to experiment with some other games. So Helldivers, Black Ops 6. I might actually post up Deus Ex Human Revolution and Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Those are my all-time favorite cyberpunk themed games that I think more people don't know about, and they should. So I might post up some Deus Ex gameplay and talk about the lore and all that in there. But until then, for now, it's still experimenting, but I'll see what happens. So I'll see you around.